In this video, we will talk about plenty of reasons to believe that Mercedes can be overcome in 2021. Do you think their dominance might finally end after the 2021 season? So keep watching until the end of the video and let us all find out. Mercedes has a bad track record. Only the squad won one of the last 10 Grand Prix. It has never happened to a German manufacturer in the V6 hybrid era. The fact that Mercedes' 2021 season will be slower than, say, 2020 has been known for some time. However, the fact that the team has only won one Grand Prix out of the last 10 demonstrates how difficult the squad has found it in comparison to previous years. The Silver Arrow's most recent triumph came before the summer break. The British Grand Prix was held at the time. The race in Spain was the penultimate race won before the British Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton triumphed in both races. In recent years, no team has gotten close to Mercedes as Red Bull Racing has in 2021. That team won 7 of the last 10 Grand Prix. The primary factor for Mercedes' softness appears to have been the floor change. The redesigned floorboards function significantly better with cars that have a higher rake. This has allowed Red Bull to make significant gains, and the Austrian team appears to have surpassed Mercedes. Mercedes, on the other hand, is barely ahead in the Constructors' Championship, thanks in part to drivers Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, who continue to win podiums regularly. Mercedes' season supremacy appears to have ended, but the squad is still in contention for the Constructors' title. There are still 8 Grand Prix left in an intriguing Formula One season. It appears that the title will be decided on the last race in Abu Dhabi. Why won't Mercedes dominate Formula One in 2021? Even though Formula One is utilizing roughly the same cars as last season, Mercedes will not maintain its dominance in 2021. While the W11 was the field class, there are several grounds to assume that Mercedes may have caught up this year. Final year of the current regulations. The present technical restrictions will be phased out in 2021, with comprehensive revisions that will fundamentally alter Formula One the following season. Thus, this year marks the completion of more than 4 seasons of these aerodynamic regulations. As a result of the law of diminishing returns, slower teams should cut the gap on Mercedes. They will be starting from a higher performance window. This year also sees the introduction of a sliding scale for aerodynamic testing, wind tunnel time, and CFD testing. Mercedes will have 22% less aero testing time than the bottom place team in 2020, Williams. Teams must also begin working for the 2022 regulations. With a budget cap in place, even massive teams like Mercedes must begin a careful balancing act of preparing for 2022 while still ensuring the 21 car is up to grade. The ideal situation would be to have a car that is so brilliantly fast, you can almost turn your back on it immediately and focus on the next one, said James Allison ahead of preseason testing. We will walk a tightrope all year between doing enough to be competitive in 2021 and putting as much as we dare into 2022. Doing so in the face of both the cost cap and the completely new 2022 technical regulations will be a challenge like no other. If the W12 comes up and annihilates everyone in Bahrain, Mercedes will have that luxury. However, preseason testing revealed that the new Mercedes is difficult to drive due to its unstable rear end. Cause for concern? It's vital to recall the original aerodynamic philosophy of the W12 was developed during the design process of the W11 in 2019. The 2020 car's predictability and stability contributed to its dominance. The massive rear downforce allowed Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas to keep their foot down. The 2020 car was not developed as a package for these restrictions. Just because everything performed well last year doesn't guarantee the same level of performance this year. Changes to the aerodynamic regulations for 2021 particularly lowered the rear downforce to simplify and slow the entire F1 field as they began to exceed the design capabilities of the Pirelli tires introduced in 2019. Despite recovering much of the lost downforce, Mercedes appears to have lost the valuable rear stability, as seen by Hamilton and Bottas. They are both battling to control the rear of the W12 during preseason testing. We could see that some of our competitors weren't struggling in the same way as us, so we need to put quite a focus on understanding why the rear end was a bit weak, Merck's Andrew Chauvelin said. How we can get it more stable and predictable, and that work is going on now. Hopefully when we get to the race weekend, it won't be so difficult for the drivers, because they were having to work pretty hard to do the lap times that they were doing. Mercedes' best testing time on the C5's softest compound was 1 minute 30.025 seconds. This time was more than a second slower than Max Verstappen's Red Bull time, which he used the C4 combination. AlphaTauri, Ferrari, and Alfa Romeo all had faster total lap times. Starting on the back foot, Mercedes will begin 2021 trying to catch up to teams like Red Bull Racing. They appear to be considerably happier with their upgraded RB16B. This car, paradoxically, lacked rear-end stability at the start of 2020. The team worked to improve it throughout the year. Due to their restrictive starting positions when the vehicles were first created for 2020, this advancement and information may have accidentally affected the fortunes of the two front-running teams. Are they trying to reduce the performance gap to the front while staying within budget and producing a new car for 2022? Mercedes is in unfamiliar territory, and they can't simply spend their way out of it. Red Bull's improvement. While Red Bull Racing is a perennial frontrunner and race winner, they don't always start the year successfully. Instead, they usually begin gently and gradually increase in intensity during the season. It was obvious in 2020, with complex RB16 posing challenges with Max Verstappen on occasion. However, the car was controlled and Verstappen rose to the fore by the season's finish. This year, Red Bull is starting from a much stronger position, having learned their lesson from a fragile rear end in 2020. They are the favorites to win in Bahrain. They could be the ones to dominate if they can sustain their standard upward momentum throughout the season. An entirely new Honda engine has been built. The Japanese firm devotes their final research push before exiting the sport at the end of the season. Already competitive in 2020, the Honda engine could end up being Red Bull's most valuable asset this year before being handed over to Red Bull powertrains for next season. In addition to the new power unit and rules, Pirelli has introduced a new tire construction to mirror the demands of the aerodynamic forces they expect to encounter by the season's conclusion. It's another seemingly modest change, but Red Bull looks to be handling it with ease thus far. In addition to these technical modifications, Sergio Perez provides more firepower to the opposite seat. Unlike his predecessors Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly, Perez's vast experience and strong personality make him far more likely to match and compete with Max Verstappen. That means Red Bull will be firing on all cylinders, rather than Verstappen's typical strategy of battling from an outnumbered position. Change in the air at Mercedes. Unlike Red Bull, who the talismanic and youthful Max Verstappen leads, Mercedes rely on the power and experience of elder statesman Lewis Hamilton. The powers of the reigning champion haven't yet diminished, but Merck is concerned about the future. With new regulatory changes on the horizon, how long will Hamilton remain? His lengthy contract negotiations recently culminated in only a one-year contract. Does this imply that Hamilton is considering retiring? There are few records left to break, and if Mercedes' performances have peaked, for the time being, his passion and determination may falter this season. Mercedes' factory role has also decreased, with Daimler cutting their involvement to about half of it in 2020. The equal shareholding of Daimler, Toto Wolff, and Ineos' Jim Ratcliffe means changes above Hamilton's head. If decisions are made with which he disagrees, the cordial partnership may end. Do you believe that they will end it up, or is this just a part of a surprise? Let me know your thoughts and comment down below. Speaking of Formula 1, are you wondering why teams still stay in Formula 1, especially the worst ones? We created this video to show you why the worst teams stay in F1. What do you think is the reason? Just click the video right on your screen now if you want to know.